Good morning. Who we got? Eva. Hey, how are you? And Sal, what's up?
Okay.
Hi, how are you? Hey, Sal.
Hi. Hi.
All right, you guys are the early birds. Just getting my screen ready for everyone.
Morning.
Morning, Sal. How are you doing, bud?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. I went
Good.
to see Dr. Jing.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
I'm
she's
s-
great.
she's
I
lovely.
I have I've been looking for a real acupuncture, not
Yeah.
people that call themselves acupuncture. And we hit it off great.
Oh, she's so sweet. She's helped
I signed up for 10 visits. I think
perfect.
it's exactly like you said. I think she charges by the needle.
Oh my gosh. I actually Saturdays are my days to go. So after I do this, I have her today at 10:30 and it's kind of
So
stressful. Eva, we're talking about acupuncture. I started acupuncture
I
to help me
got
with
her at
sleep.
11:30, so I'll see you there.
Oh my gosh, what a small world. That's going to be hilarious. But yeah, acupuncture, it's intense. Like the ones that's oddly, I don't mind the ones in my scalp. She'll put ones in my
Once in
head,
my
but it's the wrist ones that really kind of get me.
Yeah,
one. Can
I
you
don't.
guys hear me?
I can. Is that
Yes.
Renee or Eva?
Eva.
Oh, hi, Eva. Did you have a
Yeah, I
question?
don't see myself. So, yes. Where is this acupuncturist? So, can you share it later?
Sure, she's in Laguna Woods, or is it Laguna Woods or what is it?
Taj
Uh,
Yeah,
Mahal
Laguna Woods.
Building,
Laguna
Yeah.
Woods,
308.
right across from it's in that Taj Mahal building over by Saddleback Hospital.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Um,
Taj
Oh,
Mahal.
mm-hmm.
I can give you her phone number, Eva, if that's uh
Sure.
yeah,
Let me
let me
go to
just
my kitchen and write it down. I'm in Laguna Beach, so it's not too far.
is that Laguna Woods or Laguna Hills? Which, hey Scott, how are you, brother?
I
Hey,
think
what's
it's,
up?
From Chicago.
honey, is that Laguna Hills or Laguna Woods?
I think it's Laguna Hills. It's right across from Saddleback, right? There's a what is that restaurant? BJ's restaurant is right there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
BJ's.
Yeah, so
It's the
let's
old mall, the Mission Viejo Mall,
I hadn't been in that area for so long,
Laguna
and
Hills.
it is like decimated. I like they uh the mall is like let's I don't know what are
Gone.
they making more apartments or something. So Dr. Jing's number is 949
Yeah.
725
Uh-huh.
9810.
9810. How
Yeah.
do I see everybody? I only see you, and
There's probably a couple of different ways. Are you on a
I'm on
computer?
iPhone.
You're on an iPhone. So on the iPhone, I'm not sure, but there should be if you just swipe the screen, um, left or right. So just
Oh,
like
I did. Yeah.
you'll
Okay.
see, do you see people now?
A few. Yes.
All
Wonderful.
right.
Okay.
All
Thank you.
right, perfect. And Scott, good to see you. I've been thinking about you, brother.
Yeah, what's going on?
Oh, nothing. A little Valentine's Day cheer.
How about that?
How about that? I don't know. Do we cheer for Valentine's Day? I don't know what we do anymore. After you get, after you've collected a certain number of Valentine's days, it's funny. Like, um, I saw a meme that if your significant other takes you out on the 13th, you're their side piece. If they take you out on the 14th of February, you're their girlfriend or boyfriend, and if you don't go out at all, it's your spouse.
Yeah.
Really so. Or or if you go out and it's not close to it, but you don't go out that date, you're saving money by not spending the markup for the Valentine's
Yeah,
Day special.
exactly. It was kind of I don't want to say well, whatever. You guys know most of my life. So we were out at Trader Joe's last night. My daughters are taking the ACT today. So think about that. They scheduled an ACT on Valentine's Day, but whatever, so it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they wanted snacks yesterday, like to take, like little whatever candy snacks or peanut butter cups or whatever they get from there. So we went to Trader Joe's and they had um whatchamacallit, roses in the front, $15 for a dozen, but they were like the off colors, right? It wasn't like the red roses. It was like yellow and peach and kind of weirdo hybrid colors. And my wife said, "Can I get these?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it saves me the trip." And she got yellow roses. And I thought, never in a million years would I have thought to get yellow roses, but yellow, she loves sunflowers, and so the yellow makes her happy. And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. You're happy because they're yellow. I'm happy because they're just $15 for a dozen. That's great." You know,
I think it's supposed to mean friendship too.
is it? Well, maybe you
Yeah,
have to be friends
yellow.
before your spouses or whatever. So maybe it's a throwback. But
And I think if it's you give 15 roses, there's a special meaning for like every number, and it
Ah,
means that you're in trouble and you're apologizing and you're trying to get out of trouble. You're
so why
ah.
they should just sell roses in 15s then? Why do they sell them as dozens? Because anyone
well,
who's
you have
buying
to
them,
order that. Obviously, I've been in the doghouse, so I know this. Right. Yeah.
brother, I think we all have.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. I didn't know that there was a specific number.
Yep.
Um, so what now we get all sorts of knowledge here at in the program, but that's awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here today. We actually put this out to everybody, so we have some familiar faces, to me at least. It might not be familiar to everybody, but so lovely to have you guys. We'll see who pops in as we move along. But yeah, today is Valentine's Day, right? It should be like how there's like the patron saint of whatever. I feel like Valentine's Day should be like the patron holiday of cardiology, right? Because everybody is focusing on their heart and love, and so today we are focusing not just on love and the hallmark aspect of it. I think I even mentioned that in the email because this is a hallmark holiday, but the actual biology behind what we do and why we do it, right? So it's a lovely day for sure, but there's actually biology, and I don't know how many of you remember a few years ago, the Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, of all the things that they could have been worried about, smoking and processed foods and, all forever chemicals and all this thing, he decided to make his line in the sand, excuse me, um, about loneliness and connection and how we have this epidemic of loneliness. And even though we have a lot of digital communities like this one that I love, right? Like there is still something about being in person. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And hopefully it'll be an interesting discussion. As always, we start off with any questions. So for people who are new to the call, this is part of our Well 12, the program that I run, the cardiometabolic program. And so there's always questions that come up from the community, something that you read, something that you heard, some health thing that is burning a hole in your brain, like an earwig. So any questions that popped up for anybody over the week? Yeah, go ahead, Denise.
Not so much a question, but a comment. As you know, I was just came back from Dubai
Yeah.
and I was visiting friends there, and interestingly so, they are very into health. And I actually went there. I ate tons of different foods, and I was the same. When I got home, I was like 5 pounds heavier that night, and the next morning I went down to the weight that I had lost. So, um, really encouraging that, knowing walking and as you always encourage, and eating healthy fruits and nuts and lots of creative vegetable dishes. It was really exciting. But the one thing that they did was they put actual cacao nibs
Hmm.
on their yogurt. Do you consider those to be healthy?
Cacao nibs. I mean, so you have the cacao, you don't have added sugar in there, right? I mean, it's not something that I'd eat all the time. I mean, that's essentially like a dark chocolate. So you have a lot of the flavonoids and those compounds in dark chocolate that are healthy. So I wouldn't eat it as a health food in the sense of, the way that I would consider like broccoli. I wouldn't equate those.
Mhm.
But, as a sweet treat, it is definitely on the healthier side of the scale, particularly that you put it with yogurt. Isn't that interesting, right? Because the yogurt, depending on how you do with dairy, it's a high protein source. Dubai is super interesting actually in the whole, that Middle Eastern kind of Indian, that kind of chunk of the world, because they don't really have prepped desserts, right? A lot, like it's always fruit at the end of meals, and dates, which actually have a ton of fiber. Even though they're sweet, they have a ton of fiber, and so it actually helps. And I don't know if I've ever shared it with you, but one of the one of my mentors in this functional medicine space said one of the funniest things ever, and I always talk to him about it. He said, every week, if you're really trying to heal your microbiome, your gut, right, what you need to do is go to a different ethnic market and find some of the ugliest looking fruits and vegetables you can and figure out how to cook them and eat them. Why? Because these different things will have these different fruits, these different veggies will have different fibers and different micronutrients in there. And that robust kind of fuel that you give your gut will really favor the good bacteria over the bad bacteria. And so when you're in Dubai eating fresh foods, prepping vegetables in different ways, and all these different curries and the spices that they use, all of that has a beneficial effect. And it's not like what you'll get at like In and Out over here, right? So uh,
Mhm.
it's it's a bit different. Um, but um, but no, I think that's great. Dubai. I don't know who like all of a sudden this Dubai chocolate is everywhere. I don't know what it is, but
Indeed.
but whoever they got for their PR on that,
Yeah.
congratulations to
It's
that
not
one.
theirs. Actually, it was a marketing effort to create something to promote them.
That's what I figured.
And they came up with the European almond flavor in the middle, and they tested about 50 different flavors through 400 or 500 people, and this was the one. This is very new. It's not in their history, but this is again very tasty, and they have the money to promote it, but let's not talk about it longer. I Eventually I'd like to hear about love and the gut and heart, and so
Yeah, we'll
go
just
ahead.
we could just certainly pop into that. But it's funny because yeah, being somebody from India, like, we would go to Dubai, like fly through Dubai before it was like the grand hotspot. It's like the Las Vegas or the New York City now of the Mideast. And I'd never heard of these Dubai chocolates before. Like the most I would equate is, like I said, dates. That was about it. But it's a huge booming thing over there. So it does not surprise me. I mean, as much money and as smart as those guys are to drum up business for their economy, it's like
Attention. Yeah.
yeah, attention and like I mean, as they say, right, a way to a man's heart is through the stomach. We always say it's through the arteries in cardiology,
Mhm.
but a little bit different. All right, well, let's get started.
Can
Let's
I
see.
ask one
Yeah,
question
sure.
before
Sorry,
we
Sal. Go
start?
ahead. Yeah.
I'm taking a road trip starting the 18th to the end of the month. I'm going cross country. Somebody said there's measles down in Florida. I only take the flu vaccine. Is there anything you think I should do to protect myself?
I mean, so there is no, as far as I know, adult measles kind of booster shot that's required. I mean, I would just take the same cautions that you would take, washing your hands. I call them the New York City rules. So when we went to New York, they were the first time, I think they were maybe 8 or 9 or something, and we came up with two New York rules. Don't step in anything you don't need to step into, and don't touch anything you don't need to touch, right?
Yeah.
Beware of surfaces, keep your hands nice and clean. Depending on where you're going, if you're going to somewhere with a lot of people around, then, maybe wearing a mask, although in Florida, that it has its own kind of,
Exactly.
you know,
Just be
they, they,
cautious.
they think a little bit different, but I would just take kind of standard precautions. I think I pulled this up and it said there's 40 measles cases near Ave Maria University in Southwest Florida. So it's a college campus. So I would not you know g- go to a college campus and be around that stuff. But for the most part,
I'm going to
if
do
you're
that.
if you're around kind of an older group of people, they're probably taking precautions anyway, right? So it might not be kind of so significant in terms of
So I don't need to do anything other than regular precautions.
just yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, just go wear your sunscreen, wear a hat, like make sure that
All right. To
that
your
you ha-
lecture. I'm
that you do
sorry
that.
about it.
No, not at all, but it's important, right? Because these things are scary and concerning. And then just pack some zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D, as supplements and take those. Zinc is really helpful if you start feeling a viral illness come on. Vitamin C and vitamin D are great when you start to feel an illness coming on. Generally, I'll take maybe 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C and about 10,000 units of vitamin D, just as a shock and awe kind
And
of thing
zinc. Yeah.
to get that going. So we're going to push back the breath work. We'll do that at the end, just because we have so many guests. So for those of you, like I said, who are new, normally we'll do 20 minutes of breath work, but I want to get through the lecture today for everybody. And I gotta figure out on Zoom here. There we go. That's my background. All right. So today's topic we're going to talk about is what's love got to do with it, right? And I know it's a catchy title because it's Valentine's Day today, but the reason I thought of this is because there is a biology of love, right? And as humans, we are very communal organisms, right? When you think about prison, right? Prison is bad in and of itself, but what's one of the worst things that can happen when you're in prison? As far as I know from everything that I've seen from Shawshank Redemption, right, is being put in solitary confinement, right? Because you're by yourself, you're in your thoughts, and you're not really interacting with other humans. And for those of you who have been like traveling by yourself or spent any significant time by yourself, one of the most kind of odd parts about that sort of experience is just being alone, right? Being by yourself. I remember the first time I lived in my own apartment by myself in med school. It took a little bit adjusting because up to that point I'd had roommates my entire life, right? But I got plenty of socialization otherwise. So, we are designed to be around other people. We are designed to seek companionship and courtship. And so you know, there is a biology to that. There's a reason for that. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, there's your gentleman, theoretical gentleman here, 58-year-old guy, high vascular resistance, meaning his arteries are not really healthy, chronically elevated inflammatory markers. And then something happened within weeks. His blood pressure normalized, CRP dropped, and his heart rate variability, which we talk about a lot, got better. It wasn't really anything other than his daily companion returned. And in his case, it was a dog. So he got a dog, and his dog came back and got better. I see that the Rileys are smiling. You have your puppy in there somewhere, I saw. When we talk about companionship, it doesn't have to be, people, although people are great, right? It can be something as simple as a pet. And I've got Ziggy, my dog. He's right here on the floor next to me. You can't see him. But he provides a lot of companionship for me. And so it's great, right? I mean, I still have my family. But so today we're going to talk about tracking this biology of connection. So connection is biological medicine, and there are reasons that we want to connect. So there's an actual survival advantage to this. So when we have strong social relationships, strong either romantic relationships or friendship ties, we have a 50% higher likelihood of survival. People with stronger social relationships survive longer than people with weaker social relationships. And this is one of the things that Vivek Murthy, as I was talking about, the former Surgeon General, pointed to in his report. You can download it from the Health and Human Services website, but he has a whole 50-page document on this. And connection rivals key health behaviors. So exercise, you get a comparable benefit to to exercise when you're physically active, comparable benefit to smoking cessation with with strong social relationships. Scott, who's in here is a buddy of mine. We met at the gym through our workout group, and Scott, you'll remember. I mean, it was a great kind of crew, and you had to show up. You always wanted to show up to be there, and so you felt camaraderie, you felt that community, and we were exercising. So it was a boost in terms of survival behaviors and length of time. But what are some of these measurable biological gains, right? What are some of the things that we actually see? Well, your immunity boosts, as we'll talk about. Inflammation gets better. And for those of you who've been in the program, you know that inflammation is such a key driver of so many of the chronic health diseases that we deal with, including heart disease, including blood pressure, including cancers, and all sorts of things. So anything that we can do to reduce that inflammation. From a cardiac standpoint, it actually lowers your blood pressure and gives you better what's called heart rate variability. That fight or flight system kind of tamps down. And so we're much more in that rest, repair, relax mode. And then you can actually preserve cognitive function. with greater social relationships. And I had a very personal experience with this. My grandmother, who lived in India, um, was pretty healthy until my youngest aunt got married. So she was, I don't remember what the age difference was, but she was the youngest of the six kids, and she got married, moved out with her husband. And then my grandmother, who at that time must have been not super old, she was in her 60s, um, got just lived by herself. So now she was just alone. And she had accelerated dementia. She just became forgetful after 2 or 3 years without that consistent social interaction. So I've experienced through my family this severe lack of, or this degradation of cognitive function with being alone. Now, why does this happen? And for those of us who have been in the program and we've been talking a lot recently about something called the cell danger response, right? When our bodies feel that they're in trouble, it affects our biology. It makes us more pro-inflammatory. It affects the way that our mitochondria, that part of cell that creates energy, it affects the efficiency, the fuel efficiency, if you will, of creating energy. So if you're not feeling safe, your body doesn't work correctly. And those signals from your brain and intracellular make us more insulin resistant, more likely to hold on to fat and deposit it in places that we don't need to than if we are feeling safe. So connection is a safety signal. The brain treats safe connection as a permission slip for recovery and repair, right? And I think of Ziggy, who's down here with me today, right? When he's not feeling safe, right? Like when we're sitting on the sofa and a truck drives by or an Amazon person comes and delivers a package, right? He is amped up. He is barking. He is ready to go. During that time, he's not resting and healing. He is in this amped up mode of protection. And so, luckily for him, because he sleeps like 23 hours and 45 minutes in a day, right? He can tamp that response down and he can get back into that chill mode where his body is relaxed. But when we're in this constant cell danger response, right, our deadlines are killing us, our emails are killing us, the television, we're watching TV, we're under these constant attacks from everything, these virtual attacks. Our body never has a chance to be in that recovery and repair mode. So one of the easiest things to do is connection. And this is where like weighted blankets are helpful. They have these weighted stuffed animals because that weight on your chest actually makes you feel more at ease, right? That's why weighted blankets help you sleep is they make you feel like you're being cuddled, right? And so there's what's called neuroception of safety. When your brain receives those signals of pressure and of squeeze or of happiness, right? Friendly faces, warm tone and touch, that calms the brain's threat detection center, the amygdala. So that's the center of fear and reactivity, signaling it's all safe. So when your amygdala calms down, it sends signals through your body through the vagus nerve, right? Which is that nerve that starts in our brain and goes everywhere in the body. Hey, we're good. Calm down. We're in a safe spot, right? And that's when Ziggy curls up on his bed and he just kind of chills, right? He feels safe. He does not feel, if he does not feel safe, he's not sleeping, right? So when we feel safe, when we get that calm, when we get that sensation of love, and that sensation of love and facial recognition, all this stuff indicates that you're now in a group, you're now in a community, and you can let your defenses relax, right? So the connection engages what's called the ventral vagus nerve, slowing your heart rate, deepening your breath to restore balance. And this is what we do, the breath work. This is why we do our breath work, to slow your heart rate, to deepen the breath, to engage that parasympathetic nervous system. And as I mentioned, now we go from that defense inflammatory mode into this maintenance tissue repair mode. And here we see in the brain these pathways of social connection. So touch, voice, presence, right? Being around other people. In animal models, flare up these areas of the brain, and in human models, it's that B zone. So we have this ventral, medial, prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, the hippocampus, all of these areas that engage our fight and flight system calm down with community, with love, right? And some of the hormones that we'll talk about of love, in particular oxytocin, are potently anti-inflammatory. So how does connection restore our biology? Well, as I mentioned, it sends a safety signal engaging restorative pathways that reverse stress response and promote healing. So we go from this perception of safety, belonging, and shared experience now to our brain recognizing that we're safe, to these three very important aspects. We get activation of the parasympathetic nervous system. That fight or flight system calms down. And we see that as an increase in our heart rate variability. For those of you who are in the program or have a wearable device, um, that HRV metric, heart rate variability, is something that I focus on a lot because it is like the check engine light of your body, of your autonomic nervous system, and it scores like basketball, not golf. So we want higher numbers. So the more connected you feel, right, the greater your HRV will be. Stress regulation. So when you are around other people, you feel less stressed, right? I mean, we were a master class in this last night and this morning, as I mentioned, for those of you who didn't come on or came on later, my daughters are taking their ACT right now, right? And so what did we do last night? Well, we went out to dinner as a family because I didn't want them sitting in their rooms freaking out. We went out, we were laughing, we were remembering stupid old times and dumb things that happened when they were growing up, reduce that cortisol, right? That cortisol then, as it decreases, lowers these inflammatory triggers, engages the stress regulation, keeps them calm, allows them to sleep well at night. But an inflamed brain is not a happy brain. So now with that cortisol drop, with the hormones of connection, their brains are going to work better today. Right. And then we've talked about this. So the restoration mode. So we shift resources to maintenance and repair as opposed to danger, right? And I always point to like those old Halloween slasher movies, right? When you're running away from the guy with the chainsaw or the guy with the knife, right? The horrible villain in those movies, the last thing your body is going to want to do is waste energy on fixing itself, right? But when you stop, you catch your breath, that's when we need to go in that repair mode. And so that's what happens. That's kind of catalyzed by our social connections. And so some of these biomarkers, these are actually, guys, measurable things, which is pretty crazy. So when we have stronger sense of community, and this has been done with, I think we've talked about, you can pay college kids $50 to do anything, right? So they would put these college kids in isolation and then college kids in group settings, and they actually measured their IL-6. IL-6 is interleukin-6. It is a circulating um, uh, marker of inflammation. It's something I check on advanced cardiac panels now. And so you see a significant drop in IL-6. NF-kappa B is probably the most potent inflammatory molecule in our body. So social safety signals inhibit NF-kappa B, meaning from a genetic standpoint, you're actually getting alterations of your genes to turn down that NF-kappa B response, which I think is absolutely fascinating. And you bump up antiviral defense. So you bump up type 1 interferons. So when you're around people, and this maybe goes to Sal's point, hopefully you have a lot of fun because when you're around a lot of people, your immune system gets better, right? So we go from this. So the CTRAs, is the conserved transcriptional response to adversity. So it's kind of like our adversity gene. So as we are more safe, right? Oops, didn't mean to make myself bigger there. But as we are more safe, we send signals through our peripheral nervous system to our brain that says, hey, we are okay. So repair genes get upregulated, meaning they get favored. Inflammation gets downregulated. So now you're not as inflamed as you were before. You are in a more relaxed state. And we have some neural circuitry here. So this is super interesting. Social pain equals physical pain. And this I thought was it kind of makes sense, but the science behind it was super interesting. So people who are more isolated feel more physical pain. So a stimulus like getting pricked by a pin or whatever will feel 10 times worse if you feel isolated than if you're around other people, right? And that kind of makes sense, right? That makes sense of the crying reflex, right? So when you're in pain or when you're distressed, right? We cry, right? Why would evolution make that, right? Well, what happens when you cry? Are you walking and running when you're crying? No, you stop, you sit, and you're crying, and it's a sign to other people that this person is distressed. In fact, just yesterday I was walking Ziggy, and we have a little playground area, and this girl was on a skateboard. She took a bad fall, a huge tumble. She must have been maybe 5 or 6 years old. She started crying. her mom ran over, her aunts or whoever ran over. I came over to help out, right? Like it was a circle the wagons around this person who was obviously in distress. And then we were around and I checked her out. I thought she might have hurt her wrist, but it was okay. And then she felt better, right? Why? Because she got that sense of community really quick. So crying is an outward manifestation of pain, right? Of distress. And so we tamp down that reflex. I know it sounds crazy, but it's actually I've seen it again and again, right? So our as we get more society involved, this neural alarm activates both during physical injury and social exclusion, right? And it affects then in our pain centers how much it hurts, right? So how high does that volume knob go? And this was a really interesting study where they looked at social isolation versus physical injury, and they actually saw equivalent rates of pain in people who had physical injury and people who were socially isolated that reversed then when people became social again, right? So when you're around others. So it really is a remarkable biology. This machine that we have that we call the human body is pretty remarkable. I touched on this several times, but safety signals at the cellular level that you can go back and you can work well, right? This was the cell danger response. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating to me. We're made of trillions of cells, but just our mindset, like how much our brain affects our bodies, right? So you unlock that cell danger response, you get this mitochondrial recovery, so we're able to create energy again. We go from this war mode to energy mode, and we can grow, right? Regular connection allows us to grow. So I wish that maybe I'd had more social connection when I was 8, 9 years old. I might have been 6 foot tall, but I had a lot of friends. So maybe this is as good as it gets for me, right? But it we are again programmed to grow, right? Programmed to heal. And that's why I think, particularly as we get into this digital world and we see these kids playing on video games, I get really nervous because their lack of physically being around other people may have some effects on them, right? Certainly. So we want to make sure that we're doing that. Just a quick callback. So to the cell danger response, I've talked about it several times, is that, we get this threat detection. So our brains detect danger, our cells detect danger, be it chemical, physical, or biological. And then we get flow changes of electrons inside of our body, inside of our mitochondria. That leads to a shift in our mitochondrial function. Mitochondria are so important, not just for energy creation, but for aging, for immune system activation. That sends this alarm signal to our bodies. And normally that's supposed to last a few minutes and get better. But what happens in modern society as we have all these affronts to us, these virtual assaults, the safety signal doesn't get as loud, and then we don't have that same resolution. So as we think of this from the loneliness standpoint, right, we have this perceived danger of being by yourself, right? I mean, if anybody has walked at night on a street like in New York, right, by yourself, that's a very different feeling than if you're walking with a group of 10 people, right? So that perceived danger of social isolation becomes an existential threat to us. We get this distress signaling called purinergic signaling. The energy molecules get released out into the bloodstream, which is not a good thing because that indicates that there's a problem. That's that signal flare we talked about last week. You get this immune system bias. So now you're getting inflammation because your body is prepping for something. It's prepping for a knife fight or prepping to get bit by a tiger or whatever it would be. And normally that's supposed to calm down. But if we're in this chronic danger zone, then we get a lot of buildup of chronic disease. And boy, I keep talking about this, but it's so important. So when we're connected, we get peak energy production, high reserve, unified cellular signaling. And when we're isolated, we get drained, we get oxidative stress leak, we get this fragmented network of intracellular communication, right? So at a very cellular level, connection, love, all of these things are a big deal. And healing is not just the absence of threat, right? But the presence of safety signals. So it's not just about being in like not being in danger, but once we have that connection, things get restored. Our cellular biology gets restored. Oxytocin, I mentioned oxytocin, is the hormone of connection, right? It is the hormone that gets secreted when new moms hear babies cry and it's the and allows for that milk reflex, but also hugging, right? Being around somebody, even a warm blanket releases oxytocin, right? Staring into Ziggy's eyes, right? Staring into your dog's eyes, which he likes to do in the morning with me, right? Triggers oxytocin for the both of us. It's the hormone of connection. So physical contact triggers immediate oxytocin, right? That's why we give our friends a hug. It gives us a hit. It makes us feel connected. It also enhances the vagal brake, so that tamping down system, that calm, relax, repair mode gets potentiated by oxytocin. And when we're in these situations for a long period of time, kind of the opposite of feeling like we're in danger of all time, but the sustained tone of being in a relationship for a period of time creates sustained parasympathetic tone, right? That's why I call my wife my emotional support human. Why? Because when I see her, as long as we're not fighting or upset, right? But when I see her, I calm down, right? Certain people at work, right? You have your work besties, right? Because their presence just calms you down, right? So that warm contact gives you an oxytocin surge and calms down your body physiologically. And there's this warm intervention trial here, where in a controlled study of married couples, a brief warm touch intervention, hand holding or a 20-second hug, significantly lowered systolic blood pressure and heart rate during tasks compared to no contact, right? I just love the idea of this, right? I mean, I think it's so just precious and cute, I guess, for lack of better words, but so powerful. And it's something that we don't think about, right? That's why we want to have safety. That's why we have people in our lives that we feel anchor us, right? Like our parents anchor us or our siblings anchor us, right? This is the biology behind that, right? It's just, again, I just get so fascinated by humans. And how does love shape immunity? I kind of got to this before, uh, but oxytocin will make our immune system more efficient. And so we get a boost in what are called NK cells, natural killer cells, that enhance the body's natural surveillance system against tumors and viruses, right? I mean, think about that, right? Against tumors. So people who have greater connection, right? This is why they say men live longer if they're married, right? Not to say you can't live long if you're not, but on average, right? Because there may be an immune response to this. You see lower levels of cancer, lower levels of viral illness. But if you do get a virus, you get over it faster if you're in a healthy relationship. Antibody response, strong social bonds correlate with significantly higher antibody titles, right? Titers rather. So you feel like you have something to live for. And safety signals, and this is the one that, like I said, fascinates me. But safety signals, right, reach the cell nucleus. I mean, like this is, I don't know, maybe I'm just a super nerd, right? But this one actually boggles me, and it actually changes the way our DNA gets expressed, right? I mean, it changes us at a very genetic level when we're connected with people. And I had several studies to look at here, but this one blew my mind. Was that the time that it takes to repair from a wound, in this case a blister, was actually 8 days faster for people who had consistent warm support versus people that didn't. It was kind of a crazy study, but remarkable that you could see an improvement in wound healing with just feeling connected, right? So social safety inhibits inflammation, quiets that fire, downregulates NF-kappa B, boosts your immune system, so you're going to feel better, right? When was the last, who the Hallmark needs to create a card for that? You heal me, right? Or something like that, right? Because of you, I'm healed, or something like that, right? Because this is amazing, but this is biology. I mean, super cool, right? And I just want to give a shout out to Zig because I knew he'd be here in the morning, right? Because we all love our canine colleagues or our canine partners, our canine people, whatever I want to call them. But dogs give us a biology, they affect our biology as well. I love quoting the study: 25% reduced mortality or 24% reduced mortality in people who have dogs and people who don't, right? And some of this may be exercise, right? Walking around. But I don't know. Like, raise your hand or in the chat, just say me if you have a dog, if you have a pup, right? But the remarkable thing is when I walk Ziggy around, I make other dog friends, right? Zig is like, I call him the mayor of Ladera Ranch where I live. So not just by the exercise of having a dog, but I lived here in my city for 5 years or 6 years before we got a dog. And because of him, I've met so many more people, and we have a great community, and all the dog parents know each other, right? So we form a community of dog parents, but we also get like benefit bonding from our dogs, right? 31% reduced cardiovascular risk in another trial. So a risk reduction of our analysis of 3.8 million people, right? That's a big deal. If that's not a public service announcement to go out and get a dog this weekend, I don't know what is. And there was and it's not even, made up in our scientific guidelines for taking care of human people, right? Pet ownership, particularly dog ownership, may be reasonable for reduction in cardiovascular risk. This is what a bunch of cardiology nerds got in a room and talked to people about. May be reasonable. Now, of course, if you don't have it to take care of a dog, or there's economic hardships or whatever, I mean, there's other fish to fry, right? But at the same time, getting connection from anywhere is so important. So as we talked about this reciprocal prescription between dogs and humans, when I have my morning coffee, like I say, Zig, like I like to sit on the couch. Zig puts his head on my leg and just looks up at me, and we stare at each other, right? So for me, that's increasing oxytocin, which is the hormone of connection, decreasing that cortisol. For him, it increases the oxytocin and gives him a stronger bond with me, right? So it's a bi-directional thing. Go out, get yourself a dog if you don't have one. So connection, as we talked about, extends life. We talked about this in the very first slide. Uh, but but when we look at factors that affect our mortality, air pollution, losing weight, physical activity, quitting smoking, social connection is greater than all of those together, right? So it has a huge biologic impact. Now, if you do all of those things, right, then that's even better. But there are very few things that we can say in medicine increase your survival by 50%, right? Very few. I think of like aspirin in the setting of heart attack. That was the one that comes to mind that had a 50% absolute risk reduction. But it is so essential, but something that we don't talk about, right? When was the last time you went to your doctor and they asked you about social connections, right? So safety is the treatment. So feeling safe signals the healing cycle. So it downshifts that cell danger response, restores proper communication in our brain, and it's a biological medicine. It is something that we need to do to help ourselves. Thank you, Mark, for the thumbs up. So what are the 5 biological signals of safety? And we do this a lot in our program. Number one, breath. So we do the breath work on a regular basis, and you guys are all welcome to sit for the breath work that we're going to do after this. Sleep, right? We always talk about the importance of sleep, 7.5 hours of sleep. And if you could sleep next to a partner, that actually gets you into deeper sleep and more engaged sleep, right? Meaning a consistent partner. Don't go out and have a series of one night stands. That leads to other problems, probably. Nourishment. So eating proper foods restores nutrient dense foods, tells our cells everything's going okay. Movement, right? Those are all pretty informative or pretty intuitive. We talked about it before, but now we add this fifth connection pillar, right? Which is really, I think, the missing pillar. That daily dose of feeling safe, that we are not alone, that you are loved, right? Connects us, grounds us, and tells our bodies that we're safe. So the wellness prescription, if we're going to have one here, so intentional outreach, right? Some of the things that you can do. Today is a special day, right? Today is Valentine's Day. We're supposed to think about relationships and people that make us happy and all of these things. So reach out to somebody that you haven't reached out to, or that you feel like, man, it's been a while. I wish I could talk to that person, right? Or I should have called them a while ago, right? Be authentic, right? Call, send a voice text or a note or something, right? But reach out, have a heart-to-heart hug with somebody, right? And play hug chicken. Don't let go, right? Like it can get a little bit awkward in the wrong setting, right? But there's nothing wrong with hugging someone longer if there's someone you love, right? Micro affirmations, right? Eye contact, a smile, right? Don't wink. That can get funny on Valentine's Day, right? But but do something that feels right, right? Something that feels authentic to yourself, but give somebody that affirmation. And then, maybe join a community, right? Join something like Well 12, or I see Bob's here. He and I, he brought me into his ukulele group, and that was a super fun community of awesome, amazing people, right? But be part of a community. Understand how important it is, because being part of a community is just as important as exercise, is just as important, if not more important, than stopping smoking, right? Be connected. Feel like a cheerleader. Be connected, be connected, right? And digital connections are great, right? So we're here in this community, and we see people on a regular basis inside of the program, and it's great, right? But being around people is super important, right? There's a biological connection that happens. We call it bioentrainment, sharing breath, sharing singing, right? Touch, high five, fist bumps, all of these things happen, right? Active synchrony. So being part of a community group, and this is where I was. Bob is a buddy of mine. He's teaching me how to surf and all these things. And when he brought me into the ukulele group, I said, you know what? This is really the ukulele, while it's fun and we play little Hawaiian songs, but it is a force multiplier for longevity for so many reasons because you're around other people. Number one, you can't be angry and play a ukulele. It's like impossible, right? It's like being around puppies and being angry, right? It's just something that you can't do. But you're singing with other people, you're sharing the same energy, you're strumming with one hand and doing chords with the other. So there's a lot of neuroplasticity here, right? But for so many reasons, a group like that is powerful beyond just playing of music, but it definitely gets you feel connected very quickly. And then you get this vagal co-regulation. Everybody's energy calms down, right? All of us have had that friend, right? And I talk about this friend. I don't really have too many of these friends anymore, but you see their name on the caller ID and your heart rate jumps up and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to be dealing with this person today, right? Um, but um, but when you have that one person that comes in that's all amped up, and you have a group of people that are calm and chill, right? What happens? No, but we don't rise to that person's frenetic energy, right? We bring that person down to that calm state, right? So that's that vagal co-regulation of being around other people, right? Like I said, we all have our emotional support humans. What's the first thing that happens when you get upset at something? Well, you call them, right? You say, oh my gosh, you'll never believe what happened today. Maybe at that point you're that frenetic energy person, that high energy person, but they bring you down, right? Because being in a community helps you relax. Thanks, Mark. Good to see you too, buddy. So being physically around other people is important, as opposed to when we get in this digital loop, right? Where it's more passive consumption. Oh, I'm just sitting here, I've got not to call anybody out, but I'm going to call you guys out. Oh, I'm just sitting here. I've got my camera off. I'm going to be washing the dishes in the background and listening to whatever this crazy cardiology guy is talking about, right? That's not really being engaged in the way that if you're in the room with me right now, we would be engaged, right? Not that I'm mad about it. I just, calling you, just it was a great example, right? Easy example. Low vagal tone. So when you're in this universe, we don't get that same sensory entrainment, right? We don't get the same touch, that same gaze, that same smell. I'm a big fan of the energy fields that we give out. I love, like when I meet somebody, I'll be like, wow, you just have a great energy, right? It's something that we say. E equals MC squared. Energy is equivalent to mass. So just by existing, we all have energy. And when our energy loops combine and they amplify each other, we say, oh boy, we totally vibe with each other, right? What's happening is our energy fields are coming together, right? And they are amplifying each other. That doesn't happen as easily over a Zoom as it does in real life. And we get these weird dopamine loops, right? My wife has recently just discovered Instagram, and last night she was sitting there going through reels, flying through reels, if you guys know Instagram at all. And it's these quick hits of, oh my gosh, this is so funny. She was stuck on these animal videos where, animals doing funny things. And if any of you have seen those cats with cucumber videos, I don't know what it is, but they'll put a cucumber behind a cat and the cat gets scared and jumps all over the place. I mean, she was like dying laughing of this, but she was getting these quick dopamine hits, these quick oxytocin hits, which are so programmed by these social media companies, right? But it's not the same as having a meaningful conversation
You
or
want to
being
see
around somebody.
Sanjay?
Hey, Mark, I'm seeing myself right now. So while we do get some connection digitally, and I love seeing you guys every Saturday, it's like the highlight of my week. I promise you that, right? I would love to be with you in person and see you in person, right? That just think about how much stronger that bond would be. So we need to then think about as docs, but even as people, make connection a vital sign, right? How many of us check our blood pressure on a regular basis? You don't have to raise your hands. How many people looking at your heart rate or looking at your weight on a daily basis, right? And we talked about the five vital signs: temperature, respiratory rate, blood pressure, all these things, right? But now we need to add one in there in connection and say, okay, how am I going to truly connect with somebody today? Not send them an email, that's not really a connection, but who am I going to go out to coffee with? Who am I going to have a conversation with? Go down that list, maybe today write a list of the 10 people in your life that are most important to you that you haven't talked to in the last 2 weeks, and just send them a message thinking of you, something like that, right? Initiate a conversation. Maybe there's a family member in your life that you haven't talked to in a while for whatever reason, right? Reach out to them. All of these things make so much importance biologically, right? So we track lipids, we track things like C-reactive protein, right? So we need to add biologically and as biomarkers, but we need to think about adding connection to our screenings, right? So ask a question: who helps you feel safe? How and how often, right? There was at work when I was doing a lot of cardiac procedures, there was a person who worked in the hospital with me that just always calmed me down. Like she just had this great ability to just relax. And so I'd go, say hey or whatever before I would go into a big procedure to help calm me down, to help relax me, right? Like we were just like buddies. She was like my sister, and like she was like my emotional support human, right? She is someone who was important to me there, right? Just like my wife is important to me at home, and nothing, no hinky business, nothing was going on, but it was just a good person to have around, right? So that person made me feel safe, made me feel okay, right? So who are the people that make you feel okay? Track correlations. So when you do have a conversation with someone, and you don't have to write it down and keep a spreadsheet on this, but is this someone who amps me up? Is this someone who gets me into the red zone, or is this someone who calms me down? Is this someone who makes me feel better about things, right? Track those correlations and maybe look and see how you do with blood pressure, how you do with heart rate variability. I may have talked in this in Well 12 about a patient of mine who came to see me because she was having palpitations. And it was a really weird thing, right? It was a really odd um, kind of description, and I couldn't really put heads or tails of it. So I put her on a heart monitor, and then she came back, and I was like, boy, what's funny is that every time around 9:30 or 10 a.m., your heartbeat goes up, and then after that, it calms down. Like, is that what you're talking about? She goes, yeah, that's when I feel it. And I asked her, what are you doing at that time? And she goes, well, that's around the time I talked to my mom, right? And they hadn't been getting along. So every time she called her mom at 9:30, 10 o'clock, they were fighting on the phone. Her heart rate would freak out, but she didn't correlate the two, right? Until we did this like $1 million workup. We put her on a treadmill and we did a heart ultrasound, and I was going to do CAT scans and all those things. And I was like, yo, just chill when you talk to your mom. And she got better, right? So track these correlations with people, and then, use your biology maybe as a biohack and do some social prescribing, right? Join some community groups, volunteer roles, right? Like be around people of like mind and like energy, and see how that helps you, right? So your biology is always listening to threat or safety, whether you're alone or connected. So choose daily signals of safety, and it starts with one person, one hug, one smile, one yes. All right. Let's take a pause here. How do I do this here? I don't want to end the. But how are we feeling? Did that connect with you guys? I don't know how to not lose all of you, so we'll just kind of stay here. But did that make sense? Did that connect?
Yes, brilliant information indeed.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was good, Sanjay. Excellent.
Right. A little bit of a nerdy way to look at Valentine's Day, I know, right? But it's so amazing to me, for those of you who've known me for a while, just that as I'm on this kind of alternate path, just learning about these things and the importance. And actually, we are. I just I'm gonna do. There's a company that does some supplement work, and so we are gonna do a symposium on exactly this: how our mental state affects our biology. And as I get deeper and deeper into this, I'm like, boy, why aren't we talking about this as doctors, right? Why am I just sitting here? And for those of you who are my patients before, we had connection, right? But I also had to talk about, oh, what's your aspirin dose and what's your statin dose and metoprolol this and metoprolol that. Yeah, that's okay. We can and turns out we talk about that in about 3 minutes, and we optimize that. But we need to be talking about connection, right? We need to be talking about group. We need to be talking about that mental, emotional, spiritual component of what it is that we do, and it's just so important, right? So all right. So for those of you who are new, thank you guys so much for being here. For those of you who would like, every week I do a 20-minute breath work. And so today we'll do that. Normally we do that at the beginning to kind of set the tone, but I know we've got some newbies and I didn't want to kind of change anything for you. So if you're welcome, or if you'd like to, you're welcome to stay for our breathwork session. If you need to go out and buy somebody important in your life 15 roses, or what was it, Scott, in the chat put all the number of roses. So 15 is
Yeah,
apology.
15.
So that's the apology number. Oh, 13 is a secret admirer or friends forever. 17 is you are my wife. This is in the chat, guys, so you can see this. I think it's so 17 roses says you are my wife. Notice there's not like an 18 roses for you are my husband. The funny thing I'll tell you, my daughters just had winter formal. I talk about my family so much, right? But they just had winter formal 2 or 3 weeks ago. So they had to go out and buy flowers to make these bouquets. I don't know, something that the teenagers are doing. And every time my wife and the girls go out and buy flowers, they come back and explain to me why do flowers cost so much? Flowers are so expensive. And I have to tell them there's this thing in economics called inelastic demand, right? No, like if you need insulin, no matter how much you need insulin, you can charge through the roof and people will still buy it because you need that demand. And I said flowers are the perfect example of that, because if it's not Valentine's Day, where they have a markup anyway, and someone is going to buy flowers, tends to be a guy that screwed up. So they're going to charge whatever they want because you're still going to buy it, right? Because you want that apology. So now I know 15 flowers, although I don't know if this is well circulated around
No.
the partner universe. So if I show up with an off number than a dozen, it might be different. But this is really interesting. 5 is care and affection. 6 is infatuation. I miss you, or I want to be yours. So 12 is a whatever, a factor of 6, right? So maybe that's why. 9, eternal love and togetherness. 10 is perfection. 11 is true love. I don't know. Did you just make this up, Scott, or is this an actual thing?
No, this is just on the internet, so it's not
Well, if it's on the internet, it must be true, right?
must
That's
be true.
must be true. All right. So
All
we're
I can
gonna.
say is I've done the 15 number more than once. So
I think, like I said, if I had known that 15 was the number of apology, I probably would only buy in units of 15. But this is interesting. I love the apology,
Just
sincere feelings. I mean, a lot of this
get
though is
36.
what was that? 36 is romance and remembrance.
No, it just looks beautiful. It's, 3 dozens.
I think this is like something that 1-800-Flowers must have created. I'm like anyway, all right. So guys, thank you so much for being here. If it connected, I'm glad that you were here. If it was something that was goofball to you, then I apologize. But I just thought this stuff is so fascinating, so cool. It's not something that we are generally exploring in conventional medicine. So thank you guys so much for being here. If you're ready and you want to do the breath work, then let's pop into that now. And we'll go from there. So for the breath work, I'm going to start the music track. And Scott, thumbs up, or Bob, thumbs up if you can hear the music. Perfect. All right.
yeah.
So we can go cameras off.
I know how to do that. I know how.
That's supposed to play. As we begin our breathwork today, I invite you to find a comfortable position, either seated or laying down. And let your hands rest somewhere that feels natural. If it feels safe to you, allow your eyes to gently close or soften your gaze, because there's absolutely nothing you need to achieve here. There's no performance, no goal, just breathing. Take one slow inhale through your nose and a long, unhurried exhale through your mouth. And as we prepare for our rhythmic breathing section, just continue this gentle loop. Inhale slowly through your nose and naturally exhale through your mouth. As you breathe, notice the surface beneath you. Notice gravity holding you. Your body does not have to work to be supported. It just is. Bring awareness to your chest. Your heart has been beating all day without your help. Your lungs have been breathing, all without instruction. Your biology knows how to regulate. You are not here doing this breath work to fix yourself, but rather you are here to get out of the way of your body, to allow it to regulate itself. If at any point this feels uncomfortable, these deep breaths in and out, you can always return to natural breathing because you are always in control. Now begin to lengthen your inhale slightly and soften that exhale. During the next portion, this rhythmic portion of breathing, we'll be breathing in through our noses for a count of 4 and out through our mouths for a count of 4. Even, smooth, and gentle. No force needed. Let's begin now.
In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. 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 In,
Now continue breathing at your own pace. If your breath shortens, that's okay. If your breath lengthens, that's okay too. The goal here is rhythm, because rhythm signals safety to our nervous system. Imagine your inhale like a wave rising, and your exhale like the wave returning to shore. Even, measured, and consistent. As you breathe in this consistent rhythm, your body gently relaxes. Inflammation begins to soften, and your cells communicate more clearly. As you breathe, send attention, not energy, but attention to your body. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders drop. And allow your body to be hugged by this rhythm of safety. Continue breathing and realize that you are not alone in this breath. Because even though we breathe individually, we regulate together. And if it feels comfortable, on your next exhale, follow with a deep, slow inhale and gently hold. No strain, just simply pause. And let your breath rest inside you. Notice the stillness and the quiet between these breaths. If holding becomes uncomfortable, softly exhale and return to gentle breathing. But realize in this space of breath hold is where regulation integrates. We're not forcing anything, but holding your breath briefly allows carbon dioxide to raise slightly, and this tells your nervous system that despite this perceived danger, you are safe. You're safe enough to pause. Repeat these breath holds as long as you feel comfortable, and then calmly return to nasal breathing. Take another inhale, and then simply release. As we breathe, it's important to remember we are not pushing. We are practicing tolerance. We are practicing calm under stillness. Now return to normal breathing with regular ways of inhale and exhale. In a few moments, we'll return to our 4 beats of inhale and 4 beats of exhale. But this time, imagine that you're breathing connection in and exhaling tension out. Inhale safety, exhale defense.
2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. In, 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 2, 3, 4. 2, 3,
Now, let go of structure and simply return to your natural breathing. Notice how you feel. No judgment, just observation. Feel the space around your heart and the rhythm inside of your chest. And remember, connection is not just social, it's biological. Every breath you take is a signal. Today, you sent your body a great message. You are safe, you are supported, and you are not alone. Healing requires safety, and safety begins with breath. Now, take one final slow inhale and a long grounding exhale. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and carry this rhythm with you. When you're ready, turn your cameras back on and return to the community. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Go out and connect, right? That's the plan for today. So it was so great having all of you guys. And for those of you who are new in the community, this is something that we do every Saturday morning on in Well 12. And just we have a fun group of people and a great community, and just so proud of everybody that's done the work here. So if it's something that you might be interested in, reply to the email that you got, and we can hop on a discovery call, teach you more about what the Well 12 program is. We're going to be launching our next wave in March. So we're redesigning, moving to a new back-end platform, and getting people in. So if you think that there's somebody in your life who may benefit from optimizing their cardiometabolic health, their health in general, connection, sense, safety, all the things that we talked about today, then let me know. And Scott says, walk up to a random stranger and give him or her 15 roses. Make sure it's the right stranger, though, I guess. All right, everybody. I think this is how I stop here. I'm trying to learn, stop, share, desktop, one, desktop, three. I don't want to lose anybody, so I'm not going to do anything to screw anything up. But have a great Saturday, great Valentine's Day, great week ahead. I'll stay on if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, see you next week. Bye,
Yeah,
guys.
great to see you.